Alrighty, this is a familiar sight for anyone that has been on the channel for a little bit because this means I am reviewing a Keyswitch. And according to the poll, everyone wanted to see what my favorite tactile switch was. Well, I don't necessarily have a favorite, but one of my favorites is what I like to call, and what the Everglide company calls, their crystal purples. Now this is an Everglide crystal purple. You can really see that they try to go with the colorway. It is sort of translucent, but you can see the interior of the switch very well. And a crystal purple is actually not that special when all things are considered, because the crystal purple is literally just a Everglide Oreo switch, but a little bit heavier. And here is an Oreo switch, very characteristic. White stem, translucent, smoky, inky top and bottom housing. But the reason why I like the Everglide Crystal Purple so much is because of the fact that it has a very good spring weight. Now, Everglide Oreos are more reminiscent of smoother and rounder T1s. At least that's how my interpretation of the switch has gone over the years. Now, when it comes to the Crystal Purples, the spring, according to the Switch Collectors Discord, is just ever so slightly heavier. But you know how tactility works when it comes to spring weight. If you take a Cherry MX Brown and you take its stock spring and replace it with an MX Clear spring, most likely you're going to lose some tactility, and vice versa. If you put like a Gatoron Clear spring in a Cherry MX Brown, you'll probably experience more tactility. But when it comes to the Everglide Crystal Purples, they are just a tad heavier compared to the Oreo stock spring. And what that does is that it creates the right amount of tactility for me, where the only other tactilities that I actually prefer are either Duroc Medium Tactiles or a very odd and out there Frankenswitch that I don't think anyone has ever created, at least seriously. So when it comes to the Crystal Purples, I just quite like their tactile bump and how heavy the switch is in general. Let's take a look at how it goes. So if I go and really clear this up in the front, you can tell that this thing has a pretty good bump. So if I very slowly press on it, you can tell that there's a little bit of pre-travel, but it suddenly drops. But it's not like Zeal V2, where like you need to have a certain amount of strength to push past the tactility. This thing just rounds off and drops, which I really enjoy. And the one thing that's different about this type of switch from a lot of modern tactiles is that this thing actually sits flush with the top housing, so there is no long stem when it comes to this tactile switch. So you have a decent round bump, trails off. Same can be said about the Oreo, but the Oreo drops a little bit more compared to the Crystal Purple. You can see that somehow, I don't know if you can feel it, but it does seem like, or feel like, this tactile switch is a little bit more tactile compared to what I usually like. And albeit the Oreo may be good on some modifiers, like say a spacebar, or perhaps an escape key, at least in my weirdo, non-uniform keyboard builds, when it comes to the Crystal Purple, I just kind of like it for what it is. And I'll just do a little quick sound test demonstration with a lubed and filmed one that I have been preparing for the Saka 68, which I hope is coming very soon, because I see a lot of photos in the CMM Discord of the Saka 68 like being ready to ship out, and man, it just puts into perspective how many switches I still need to lube in order to prepare for that board, in which I will build on stream. And I will build on stream. I don't know if I'll be streaming on Discord, Twitch, or YouTube. I guess I'll iron the details out when the package arrives in the mail. Now, here is a lubed and filmed Everglide Crystal Purple. Up to the mic. Here is a very poorly lubed, and if anything, over-lubed Everglide Oreo, but it should still sound the same. It would just start squishing, so I won't torture you with that. But let's see what it sounds like with a keycap on. Here is a PBT double shot keycap from Tactile. Sounds like someone got shot. Okay. Well, anyway, let's see what it sounds like in a keyboard. And if anything, it's going to be right underneath this microphone because my DOV2 is here and ready for takeoff. Alright, so currently you are looking through the Nexigo N660p webcam, and you can see my beautiful thighs here, and I'm suffering from low blood sugar right now. I'm sweating my ass off. But here is the DOV2 R2, and I will be doing a stock Everglide purple, crystal purple, sorry, and a lubed and filmed Everglide crystal purple. And one thing that I like about the crystal purple is that, unless if I got a good batch or something, these can be used rather well stock. If anything, you can just lube the spring and it should be fine. But the tolerances are pretty good. And keep in mind that I actually took this switch apart and put it back together. So the top housing is actually pretty good. So let's listen to the stock switch first. Now I'm putting it in one specific spot. Okay, there we go. Now, let's just listen to it with and without a keycap, and I'll be putting the Tactile PVT thing on it as well. So, let's take a listen. A bit rattly, of course, but you do expect that from stock tactile switches. I don't think I've ever heard a tactile switch that hasn't been at least modified in some way, shape, or form sound very good. It's almost always having some form of rattle when it comes to a high tactility switch. Now, let's try it with a keycap on. All in all, pretty good. I would still like to do something with it, so that's why I prepared a lubed and filmed switch. I swear to God the reason why this take is going so good is because I drank earlier, but whatever. Okay, let's take this out. Let's put the lubed and filmed one into the slot. Oops. Keep in mind that this is just one type of keyboard. Other keyboards may sound different. There we go. And let's listen to it without the keycap. Very, very major difference. And there you have it. Have it back and forth. So, in my opinion, at least to my personal tastes, because I actually do quite like Durock medium tactiles, and I also have a very sort of odd Frankenswitch that nobody wants to make, which is a YOK Purple Panda stem put inside a Kale Halo housing, or a Polia housing. What comes out of it is a very odd sort of sharp but minimal tactility, but it's still there. It's kind of like a hitch that you just can't ignore, but it's not too heavy nor too light. Take a listen to it. It's actually in my escape key. So, it was actually also the escape key on my Ramillo Mia Pro U4 build, and albeit that keyboard will eventually be reworked when I have the time. As for now, my current favorite tactile switch, at least my current top, I'd say like top 5 tactile switches that I like in the Cherry MX style, is the Everglide Crystal Purple. And I can't wait to build the Saka 68 with it, and until then, I hope that this keyboard switch review was just fun, I suppose. I don't really know what I could really do with it. Tactile switches are kind of hard to convey in video form anyway, But in hopes that I have opened the eyes of other people, perhaps if you have tried Everglide Oreos and think their tactility is a little bit too much and you want their heavier cousin with a little bit of reduction in tactility, then I suppose the Everglide Crystal Purple will be the one that fits the bill. At least I hope it. Otherwise, try the dark medium Tactiles. I'll sim for those. But yeah, that's about it. I need to eat some food. And I hope everyone has a very nice weekend, or what's left of it.